Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have £1 million? Or £1 billion? Or £1 trillion? Or even a gazillion? Meet Joe Sport. He doesn't have to imagine what it would be like to have loads and loads of money. He was only 12, but he was ridiculously, preposterously rich. Joe had everything he could ever want.
A little old lady lived all by herself with a table and chair and a jug on the shelf. A wise old man heard her grumble and grouse. There's not enough room inside my house. Wise old man, won't you help me, please? My house is a squash and a squeeze. Take in your hand, said the wise old man. Take in my hen? What a curious plan. Wow, the hen laid an egg on the fireside rug and flapped round the room, knocking over the jug. The little old lady cried, what shall I do? It was pokey for one and it's tiny for two. My nose has a tickle and there's no room to sneeze. Achoo! My house is a squash and a squeeze.
Alan came from a long line of very scary alligators. He was known throughout the jungle for his scaring. It was what he did best.
What a lot of hairy-faced men there are around nowadays. When a man grows hair all over his face, it is impossible to tell what he really looks like. Perhaps that's why he does it. He'd rather you didn't know. Then there's the problem of washing. When the very hairy ones wash their faces, it must be as big a job as when you and I wash the hair on our heads. So what I want to know is this. How often do all these hairy-faced men wash their faces? Is it only once a week like us on Sunday nights? And do they shampoo it? Do they use a hairdryer?
He kneeled down in the yard. He stretched out on one elbow. He picked up a greasy black stove and chewed it like toffee. There were delicious crumbs of chrome on it. He followed that with a double-decker bedstead, and the brass knobs made his eyes crackle with joy. The Iron Man lifted a handful of rusty chain and let it dangle into his mouth. Better than any spaghetti.
But who is this creature with terrible claws and terrible teeth in its terrible jaws? It has knobbly knees and turned-out toes and a poisonous wart at the end of its nose.
A mouse took a stroll through the deep dark wood. A fox saw the mouse and the mouse looked good. Where are you going to, little brown mouse? Come and have lunch in my underground house. It's terribly kind of you, fox, but no! I'm going to have lunch with a
Beep,
griffon.
beep, red bus, can we ride on you? Jump on, we're going to the zoo. Pat, pat, little car, wait until it stops. Jump in, we're going to the shops. Puff, puff, puffing train, won't you wait for me? Jump on, we're going to the sea.
My favourite book is The Magic Faraway Tree by Enid Blyton. Once upon a time, there were 3 children, Joe, Beth and Franny. They lived with their mother and father in a little cottage deep in the country.
Harry woke up early the next morning. Although he could tell it was daylight, he kept his eyes shut tight. It was a dream, he told himself firmly. I dreamt a giant called Hagrid came to tell me I was going to school for
Parents treat ordinary children as though they were scabs and bunions, but it could become somehow a lot worse when the child in question is extraordinary, and by that I mean sensitive and brilliant. Matilda was both of these things, but above all she was brilliant. Her mind was so nimble and she was so quick to learn that her ability should have been obvious even to the most half-witted of parents. But Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood were both so gormless and so wrapped up in their own little lives that they failed to notice anything unusual about their daughter.
There was a small table centre stage with a chair behind it. The cook placed the cake carefully on the table. Sit down, Bob Trotter, the Trunchbull said. Sit there. The boy moved cautiously to the table and sat down. He stared at the gigantic cake. "There you are, Bob Trotter," the trench girl said, and once again her voice became soft, persuasive, even gentle. "It's all for you, every bit of it. As you enjoyed that slice you had yesterday so very much, I ordered the cook to bake you an extra large one all for yourself."
Tiddler rode a seahorse. Tiddler met a mermaid. Tiddler met a turtle who saved him from a squid. Tiddler found a shipwreck. Tiddler found a treasure chest. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, yes, he did. Tiddler peeped out and he saw a shoal of anchovies. "Excuse me, can you tell me where you heard that tale?" "We heard it from a shrimp, but we don't know where she heard it." And they took him to the shrimp who said, "I heard it from a whale."